Hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. We are the two Unholy Healers. I'm Colleen O'Brien. This is Keryn Lee, and thank you so much for stopping by for our latest episode. And today we are talking about how it's not about the food. There's so many directions we can go with this. I think there was a lot of buzz. A lot of people were really excited about this topic too. And this had really come out from a conversation Keryn and I were having about a nutrition class that Keryn is currently taking. So why don't you talk a little bit about what's going on in that class?
Hello everyone. I was talking to Colleen about, a couple of things. First of all, I did the eating disorders class a couple of weeks ago, which I think was just before we got into this topic. And the other thing was the nutrition class, which was where we were talking a lot about, beliefs and stuff that people have about food, what you should be eating, what you shouldn't be eating, what's good for you, what's bad for you. And there is so much information out there that completely contradicts something, similar. So it's all about perspective, and it is very much about what you choose to eat, how you feel about it, what you believe about it actually makes a difference in terms of how it's absorbed and integrated into your body. There's some people out there that can eat whatever they want, and it doesn't really affect them. They just live life oblivious to all of the so-called, food stuff. And then there's people that live massively healthy lives and then still end up with some illness. So, in that perspective, it's not about the food. It really is about your perception of the food. And then branching off from that, we started talking about how food was used as a way to avoid dealing with deeper issues. And this is one of the biggest things that I see with clients with eating disorders and issues around food, and even food sensitivities. And if I can just quickly share a little story around that, I had a client who was super allergic to perfumes and like lots of things. But there was this one day, and she came in and she was quite stressed, and she'd had this kind of a panic attack. And she said, "Oh, this lady in the office had this perfume on, and it was really upsetting me." And I said to her, what was happening just prior to smelling that perfume? And then she was sharing about how the week before, leading up to that, she'd been in a lot of emotional stress because of some stuff that was happening in her life. And we started talking about that and realized that she was having difficulty dealing with quite a sensitive issue, and it had brought about a lot of stress and worry and really, really deep-seated issues. And so the way to deal with that at the time was to stress about something external that was she potentially believed was going to affect her or her body. And the same things happen with a sensitivity to a food. Like, if I eat this, my body's going to react in this way. If I eat that, my body's going to react in that way. And underlying that are those deeper issues and emotions that people are not handling or not dealing well with, or not even sometimes really that aware of, because they've been suppressed for so long.
Yeah, that's a great insight. Because, right before, in fact, before we got into the green room, Keryn, I was reading about allergies in the Theta Healing Diseases and Disorders book.
Ah,
And they're often connected to anger and resentment.
mm-hmm,
And I had only been thinking about food rather than about, perfumes or scents. I used to be so sensitive to smells. And in particular, when I took my first basic class, if you go to a basic DNA class, a theta healing class, one of the first things you do as a class is you get your feet anointed with frankincense oil.
mm-hmm.
And before she started, my instructor says, "Oh, like creator gave her a message. Who's sensitive to smells?" And I didn't miss a beat. I was like, "Me, I am."
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, okay. And so what they did was they moved the anointing to the end of the class, and I was able to leave so that I wouldn't be irritated by that smell.
Yeah.
Now, having worked on myself on plenty of other things, I find that I'm not as sensitive to smells. I mean, I still notice stuff, but I'm not as sensitive to smells. But
Yeah.
I wonder, what was there was a lot that was irritating me in my life at that point. I don't know that I could pinpoint one exact thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if something is irritating you or making you angry, well, particularly if with food, because the digestive system, you store so much anger in there, right? Like how
Yeah.
often, like it's a common thing to say, oh, my stomach is upset. Is the
Yes.
stomach the thing that's upset, or are you upset?
Exactly. And if we have a look in society today with all the gut and bowel issues, it's very, very prevalent. Okay, so we've had some changes in our diet in terms of we now have more genetically modified food. We're using more and different chemicals than what we used in the past. So there is the potential for it has a different effect on the body, but it's how we handle that. It's how the body handles that. And if we're in balance completely with our environment, and if we're in that space of truly receiving and allowing what is not serving us to flow through, that complete sort of barriers down, expanded sort of energy, then nothing's going to impact us that in that way. So you've got to ask, what are some of the beliefs and perhaps collective consciousness things going on that are affecting us as a group of people that's causing these gut issues? What can we not stomach that's actually happening on a global level?
Right, right. And particularly with the intestine, it's what are you not willing to digest? What are
Yes.
you, blocking yourself from absorbing? Because the human body, any life, any biology is highly adaptable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our environment changes, our food changes. We have the capacity to adapt and adapt very, very quickly. So the
Yeah.
fact that we aren't using that capacity, how is that serving us?
Yeah. That's a
Yeah.
great question. Yeah. And I love that question because it's something that we would ask in a healing session with someone. So now really putting it out there as a collective, as a across the whole world, what are we not, or what are we getting out of that, and what are we actually not willing to change? Because it feels like there's a lot of resistance under that as well.
Yeah, yeah, and it might ultimately just be, the biggest fear of all fears, the fear of the unknown, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
we've never been this place before. We've never been like this before. So we
yep,
don't really have any experience or cellular receptors or anything to fall back on to really know, like to
yeah.
go into this uncharted territory. And I'm sorry, I'm going to quote Futurama here for a second, but uh, like the one space captain who's an absolute idiot says, like, oh, we're going to uncharted territory, and his assistant goes, it's not uncharted, you lost the chart. So what if we lost the chart? What if
Yeah,
we actually know and we forgot? Like we are
yeah.
deliberately deceiving ourselves that we don't know.
Exactly. And when you look at it from the big picture, that's kind of what it is. It's like we've temporarily gone into this space where we pretend that we don't know that stuff, or we pretend that we're affected by stuff. So that's very cool. And also, as you were saying, in relation to the stomach area, stomach and bowel, it very much to do with digestion, absorption. So you've got to kind of look at what are we not assimilating in our lives? Where are we overwhelmed and not uh, kind of, well, I've got to use the word digesting. What are we not digesting in our lives? What are we not, assimilating and incorporating into our lives in a balanced way? And then you have a look at a lot of lifestyles that people have now, which is overworked, under pressure, doing too much, just out of balance, not really living their true purpose. Uh, more. living for money or doing a job to survive. It's not about that sense of joy and purpose anymore. And so those feelings kind of get squashed down, and people get into that sort of mundane mode and acceptance of a reality that is not really what they want to be doing. And I think that's where a lot of gut issues start as well. And then moving on from that a little bit as we get to the bowel, that can often be associated with abuse and stuff like that. And that is all part of that digestive system. That's where we hold, like you said, a lot of that anger, a lot of that abuse energy, and it's all to do with that assimilation and absorption of life.
Right, right. So well said. And so, because so often people will, and I've done it myself, we will use food to numb ourselves,
Yeah.
right? Because we're getting these feelings, we're getting these signals, like that's where it's showing up in our body. And even if we know we're not hungry, oh, you know what? If I eat something now, it's going to make me feel better. I'm reminded of, the Germans have a great word for this. It's called Kummerspeck. And
I love that word. Say it again.
Kummerspeck, Kummerspeck.
My God, I'm so going to put that into a sentence in my daily life. Look out, people.
So if you look it up, it is often said to translate as grief bacon. Which I think is it's just a great visual. But I think if you literally translate it, I think it's sorrow fat. Like it's basically the fat that you eat when you are feeling bad, when you are feeling sad, when you are grieving, because of course, and it's that trope that you see on TV and movies all the time. Oh, the guy dumped me, so I'm going to eat the ice cream right out of the carton.
Yes. That's it, exactly. And you know what? I've spoken to you about this before, Colleen. What drives me nuts in movies and TV shows and stuff, when something great happens, oh, let's go to the pub and have some alcohol. Oh, I feel really sad. I need a drink. And I don't know if it's just me because I don't drink.
It's not just you. I don't drink either, and it bothers me too. Like, why do we have to mark so many milestones with that?
Yes, with alcohol and with food. Now, okay, it's part of culture. We have always, as far back as anyone can remember and beyond, we have gathered together as a tribe, a group of people to share food, because it's a common it's a way we would connect, because really there was probably not a lot going on back in the day. There'd be a bit of hunting, a bit of eating, probably a bit of sex, or what else you got going on. Do you know what I mean? So it was a very
and it was a big deal, right? A celebration feast. There usually wasn't that great deal of abundance to gather all together. And, it's sort of that essence of like the covered dish, right? Everybody contributes. Everybody brings something.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So there was many things associated with it, not just eating.
But now it seems like it's all about the eating. I was thinking about this afternoon. When I go to family parties, or in particular weddings and funerals, my first question is, where are we going to eat? Because there's always a banquet associated with those events. And I mean, it's such a big thing, to always gather together and always have food, and an overabundance of food. Like, I don't know if your family's like this, but I don't know what army my family is expecting when we all get together. But there's always leftovers. There's always way too much. And, part of that may be, because my grandparents grew up during the Great Depression. And so there wasn't always a lot, so it's sort of an overcorrection, like, oh, now we can actually have a bunch. And they never really got out of that mode. But so much of it was a thing that when I took the Theta Healing Rhythm to a Perfect Weight class, I actually uncovered a bottom belief that love is food. Because that was how it was expressed. Like, I was just, brought up and I think many of us have brought up in families like this, and it seems innocuous, but in my subconscious, the wires were crossed, that was how love was expressed, was through food. And so no wonder I was having problems, with dieting or willpower, because if I was reducing the amount of food that I was intaking, well, then I was unloved.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. And that aspect of it is one part, when we look at it from how a social aspect. And then the other side of it is when we're just using it as a crutch because it's like we're not even really hungry, like between meals when and some of you know this story with me, but I did suffer from eating disorders from time I was about 24 for about 4 years, like a lot. It was quite serious. I ended up being hospitalized, etc. And, I had, even though that shifted and cleared, I had for many years after that just this constant hunger. And so even I would constantly be snacking. And when I was younger, I was told, oh, you have low blood sugar. So I believed that, oh, well, I must need to eat a lot because I got low blood sugar. I got to keep my blood sugar up. So I'd sort of bought this story that it was okay to be snacking all the time. And not only snacking, but this compulsive, crazy person hunger that I could not listen to. So if that hunger came up, I had to eat to the point where I would take food everywhere that I went so that I always had food to kind of push down that hunger until one day got the bottom belief under all of that, which was about it's all my fault. So I have to eat the guilt. And once I shifted that, I have only ever eaten my normal, quote unquote, 3 meals a day. I never snack between meals anymore. I don't even think about it. This is insanely different from the person that I was and have been for the majority of my life. So to have that shift in like overnight was massive. But the essence of what I'm saying is, as we're talking about in this conversation, Colleen, it's when we're eating those feelings, whatever those bottom beliefs are, whatever it is that's holding that in place, there is something there. Often I find connected to guilt. There seems to be a lot of this kind of guilt energy, and often stuff that goes back to the womb. So it's pre-verbal and we don't even kind of know what it is. But if we feel, in my example, if we feel that we've done something wrong, that we're not good enough at this really core innate level, like I was not good, like it was all my fault because I was a girl, not a boy. So how the hell do you change that? Do you know what I mean? It's not something that's, well, yeah, I guess some
It's
people
not,
can these days,
yeah,
but do
it's
you know
not
what I
that
mean?
easy, right? Yeah,
No.
exactly,
And it's
exactly.
also then the underlying guilt of, well, I can never be good enough because for starters, I'm completely wrong. It's all my fault. I'm not a girl. So
Ah,
it
yeah,
seems
good.
crazy, but that's what the pattern was for me. And just in clearing that, released the whole thing that was holding it all in place. So I would love to see a reality where we can start to have TV shows and stuff like that that reflect people making those conscious choices of, oh, hang on, I'm not actually really hungry right now, or hey, I don't really need a drink. What if I just go for a walk in the park? And it doesn't make for such exciting TV, but hey, it's more the reality of what we can do.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And art imitating life and etc. It's
Yeah,
yeah, what would that be like? We do have a comment from Catherine from when you were talking. Yes, she says, Mom is a feeder. That is her way of showing love. She uses food in place of emotional connection. What
yeah,
I need is emotional support, not the food. What a great
yeah,
insight there, Catherine.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean it's from birth too. Like how many little
Mm,
kids when we were kids, we would cry. Mom didn't know what to do, and then we're like, "Oh, here, let's put a bottle in your
yeah.
mouth so that you stop crying."
Yes, yes. And back in the day, I like a little teaspoon of brandy or something.
Right.
Um, People would do as well. It's like, well, hey, just get used to the taste of this. You'll feel much better. And then the pattern begins.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and Keryn, when you were talking about guilt, like so much of the eating is about guilt. I really wish
Mm.
I had remembered to look this up, but there is something historically known as the Death Eaters. I believe it's an 18th century thing that when somebody died that still believed to have sin on their soul, that other friends and relatives would agree to take on those sins and atone for them so that the person who has already died would be able to get into heaven. And the way that they would transfer those sins would be to put food on the dead body at the wake. And then the friends and relatives would come up and pick up that food and eat it. And so that was how they would transfer the sins.
Oh my God. Freaking me out, man. Imagine the like if you look at people now that someone has been one of those Death Eaters and they're still carrying that energy. You know what I mean? Like through the work that we do, the I guess the oath or the vow or the commitment that we made to take that. Oh my God. Continue. So I had to jump in.
That's it. That's like I said. I wish I had remembered to look it up, but I had come across it in a lecture probably about 7-10 years ago. Talking about the Death Eaters, and it's just because again, if to be 18th century, like this was before like embalming was a thing, and so it was like, wow, you're really kind of stuck with whoever's like within traveling distance to be able to do that. Like it's. And like what a burden, really.
I know. And what I wonder what those people that ate those emotions, what did they feel like after like that? Like did they actually significantly feel the energy of that guilt? Do you know? Like I mean,
or was it more of
an impact?
Yeah, was it more of an exalted thing? Like, oh, I'm the chosen one. Like I'm going to be holier because I now am taking on extra stuff. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
But I love it. Yeah, that's a great conversation. That's really cool. I'm definitely going to look that up. And oops, my little camera's going funny today. I'm definitely going to look that up. That's really cool. I would love to know more about that.
Yeah. But I forget exactly what you had said, but going back to one of the points you had, Keryn, is, that confusion, right? So often we give over our authority to other people in terms of, what's the right thing to eat, what's the wrong thing to eat, when to eat, what to eat, whether it's, we've got to celebrate with alcohol or, we've got to eat this, or even just eating a particular food on a particular holiday. Like, here in the United States, pumpkin pie, well, even pumpkin spice is a big thing. It's still summertime and people are still talking about pumpkin spice already. It's very much a fall thing, but I don't like it. The pumpkin pie is supposed to be a big, holiday thing for winter holidays, family gatherings. I'm like, I don't want it. You guys from down under are probably like, why do you put vegetables in your pie? Like that is not a dessert. But, but it's, but if somebody wanted pumpkin pie off season, like, oh, there's something wrong with you, right? And maybe that's, sort of just a kind of light example to it rather than, those authorities of like, only eat one meal a day versus you have to eat 6 meals a day or, what kinds of foods to eat. And we get so confused because we give up our inner knowing.
Yes. And then what happens is it gets confusing. And so people do nothing. And one of the things we actually discussed in class was that, once upon a time there was more, I guess, scientific research that would come out and that was seen as the authority, but right or wrong, but that was led to be the authority in this is how much protein you need or this is how much this or whatever.
It seemed simplified because it was like one voice. There's just so much. There's so many.
We get a lot of celebrity types who promote their eating plan or their eating style based on something that's worked for them, based on sharing what they do, etc. But it's not necessarily always based on fact, and sometimes it is based on like a small portion of the fact. Not necessarily the whole picture.
Right. It's like, here's the headline. Like, let me distill this down into one little sentence and throw out all the rest of the supporting evidence that actually led to that.
Yeah. And sometimes just having that little bit of information without the other information can actually be dangerous. So there's one particular diet in particular. I'm not going to say what it is. I don't want to get a big, what's right and wrong thing going here. But there is one diet that this sort of came from this type of study. Some of the research was taken, and what it does is it works, but because it doesn't have all the other information behind it, it actually can end up being quite dangerous. So, and it's quite popular at the moment. So the point of that is you have to look at your sources, and you have to be willing to do a bit of research into what is actual fact, if you want to sort of go that route where you're, going that deep into the facts and figures. The other side of it is to really start to trust your body and to tune into what's right for you in each moment, and also to clear any blocks and beliefs you had. Like, I used to be so rigid in my diet because I had a lot of health issues and needed to cut a lot of things out so that I could live without pain. But the more I cleared the underlying issues, and the more I got rid of a lot of points of view about what was right and wrong to eat, the more ease I have with food now. Now, yes, a lot of people would say that I probably still have a reasonably sparse diet, but that's because I actually am really in tune with what works for me now. And it's okay if I deviate from that, but I'm really aware of what I'm putting in my body energetically now.
Yeah, yeah, and working on yourself, being more aware of yourself really, really helps an awful lot. I mean, and there are a number of different, nutrition programs, and even myself, at one point I had given up sugar and chocolate.
Yeah,
And then I was in a situation, I won't tell the whole story, but I got really disappointed, in the relationships that I was looking for and really looking forward to didn't happen, didn't fall through. And so I immediately, not immediately, but very shortly thereafter, started eating the hot fudge sundaes again and started ordering
yeah,
desserts again, because I wasn't being nourished in my relationships. I
yeah,
was going after different nourishment that I had already been denying myself, and so I was denied this in another part of my life. I was like, well, okay, if I can't do anything about the relationships, I can do something about adding this back in.
yes,
And I knew it was very much a conscious emotional thing. And
yeah,
yeah, there was a very, you get that sugar high, you get that, oh, it tastes good. There is a little bit of, reward pleasure center lighting up in your brain with it, but it's short term. And I consciously did it. I consciously made those choices. But a lot of people are unaware of, the stress and what else is going on in their life that's affecting what it is they're choosing to eat. But ultimately, as you said, you've got to listen to your own body. We are all individuals, and what works for one
yeah,
person may not work for you, and what works for you
exactly.
may be completely bonkers for somebody else. And that's what's so wonderful about us all being individuals on this great planet, is that there's such diversity.
Yeah,
And you just got to have the courage and the perseverance to keep looking, to keep finding something that works for you. Like, even my coming to Theta Healing, there were a number of things that I did before that, before I really, really jumped into it. And, there are other things that I still explore beyond it as well. Keep looking, don't be satisfied with, with something that's just going to be mediocre.
exactly, exactly. Well said. And as we were having this conversation, it just reminded me that in theta healing, when we talk about the different planes of existence, the first plane, which is very much connected to the minerals on the planet, is all about support. So if you're lacking in minerals, you lack support. And the second plane is all about your vitamins. And if you're lacking in vitamins, you're lacking in love. And there's more. I won't go through all of them today, but for those who are theta healers, it's in your basic manual, in your basic book.
Yes, it's in the basic book, and then we go more in depth in the advanced class too. So if you have the
Yeah,
advanced
yeah.
manual, there's like multiple pages that goes through each plane. But yeah, everything is in that basic theta healing book. And I have a stack of books sitting right next to me, and of course the basic theta healing book is not the thing that's standing right next to me to
Oh,
hold
well,
up.
I'd hold it up, but
So
this is the
Keryn,
old version because I don't think I have the copy of the new version. So it's not going to look like that, guys.
right, if you get the but that cover was from like 2011. that was a cover for like 10 years. So there has been a new edition that has a new cover, but it still has the DNA on it. It's still Theta Healing by Vienna Seibel. But yeah, I think the latest edition came out in 2019, maybe 2020.
So the point I wanted to make about that with just the first and second plane with your vitamins and minerals is all connected to support and love. So this is exactly what we're talking about. Then third plane proteins to do with nurturing, and on and on and on it goes. So what I like about that is that we can be aware of, how much of different nutrients and that we're putting in our body. Is there something that you tend not to be putting in your body? And then you can have a look at that chart and go, oh, well, that's related to love, or that's related to support. And then you can, do some belief work around that as well. So I just wanted to add that little bit in at the end there, because I think we're just about at our time.
We are. We're just over 30 minutes, but that's brilliant. And how often do you forget the stuff that you learned in the basic class? Going back to the beginning, going back to the basics. So brilliant. Keryn, do you have anything that's coming up that you want to give people a heads up about?
I have an advanced class coming up in a couple of weeks on the 11th, starting the 11th of September. So that's in Adelaide. And just putting it out there, I don't currently do it at the moment, but I will be doing some online classes in theta healing coming up, probably not till next year, but they will be coming. But for now, just the advanced class. And of course, don't forget, my book is still available on Amazon and other places for those who are interested.
Yes. The Secret Healers Business is available wherever books are sold by Keryn Lee. So be sure to pick up your copy. And brilliant. And your advanced class is in person, right? In Adelaide. It's in person only.
That's right.
Yes. And so beyond. Oh, and show everybody your mug.
I don't know if they'll be able to see that. Oh, there we go. Hang on.
Yeah.
There we go. Secret Healers Business.
She's got the name of her book. She's already branching out into merch, guys.
Getting into the merch, and there's the book cover.
Brilliant. I love it. So perfect. And then sorry, I just flipped that there. All the stuff is going to be on your website, right? KerynLee.com.au, right?
It might be on secrethealersbusiness.com. Oh, the class will be on KerynLee.com.au. Yes, that's
yes, right. But the secret, that's right, because you do have a Secret Healers Business online class you had mentioned, and that is at secrethealersbusiness.com.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
So one or the other, between the two, you'll find all sorts of stuff there. So.
Yeah, and all the things you can message to Unholy Healers on this page. You can message Keryn directly, on Facebook and her page as well. So yes, there's plenty of ways for you to get that information.
Plenty of ways to connect. And what have you got coming up, hun?
So I have an online basic theta healing class coming up September 10th, 11th, and 12th. It's 3 days. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's going to be Eastern Daylight Time because I'm on the East Coast of the United States. So we'll be from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And if you go to my website, you can actually choose your time zone and it will automatically convert for you. So you can figure out what times those are. This will probably be the last basic class that I will do during this calendar year. So if you have been thinking about taking a basic class with me, I highly encourage you to come. If you're already a theta healer and would like a refresher with me, you are more than welcome to join us as well. So I'm really looking forward to be able to do that as well. So that's the big thing that I've got coming up. And of course, if you haven't already gotten your book by me, Reasons You Are Not a Better Healer, and then of course the big long subtitle that you probably can't read because it's just way too right in there. But this is available on Amazon. It's also available on Book Depository. If you want the Kindle version, it's a Kindle exclusive on Amazon. And it's a print on demand book. So when you order it, it may take a few days for it to ship out. But it is brilliant. And every couple of days I get a report that somebody else has bought it. So I love it. I love how it's one healer at a time changing the world.
Yeah, I love it. We just also want to thank everyone so much for being on today, and for those who watch in the future, thank you for being part of Unholy Healers little tribe and our conversations that we get going on here. We're really, we love your energy and we love that you're part of it all and that you're hanging out with us for a while. So much gratitude.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. And I hope you can join us in 2 weeks' time. Our topic will be about developing clairvoyance. Because
Yeah,
Keryn and I have been talking about how when we first started, like it was right after a swap. I was like, wow, if I think back to, like 5, 6 years ago before I did this, like my clairvoyance was the pits. Like it was just
yeah.
terrible. And, look how far I've come and look how far, she's come.
Mhm.
And so there's stuff that we do now that we never would have imagined doing when we first started. And I think Keryn, and you
Yeah,
even mentioned this in the book too, like at one point
yeah,
you believed you had to be chosen, right? Like
yeah,
that
yeah,
only certain people had the gift. And
yeah.
and if you
And
couldn't
also
do it, you
the
weren't ever going to
class.
be able to do it.
Yeah, and the class that I was in where I didn't get picked to be in the advanced class because I wasn't intuitive enough according to these people. So that was really devastating, but I did not let that stop me. And it just shows, like, from, what Colleen and I are doing now is just amazing. And when we look back at where we were, it's like, okay, this is really great encouragement for people who are in those early stages or still developing this skill and having doubts about it all. We're going to be talking about all of that in 2 weeks' time.
Yes, yes. So I hope you can join us there. Of course, you can check the page for all the updates, the highlights, etc., and yeah, all the things. We'll leave links in the comments. So again, thank you so much for everybody who joined us live. Thank you for those who are here for the replay. We appreciate your comments. We appreciate your participation and your energy, and we will see you in the next podcast.
See you guys.
Bye bye.